I'm hosting today's event with Candy and Kara, and we want to welcome you to our exclusive connect with Johnson & Johnson. So I'm going to keep our intro real brief because they have an excellent presentation, but thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us, wherever you're joining us from. I'm going to launch a quick poll, or if Kara or Candy can do it, because for whatever reason it won't let me. But give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. All right. So 50 Strong, if you've never been here before, is typically 20 to 25 different employers. That's our big employer connect events. So if you have not joined us before, this one's a little bit different because we're focusing on the team with Johnson & Johnson. So we're going to learn all about sales today, which is super exciting. As you can see, we have 6 awesome panelists that you're going to be talking to, and we'll have 5 breakout rooms that you can go to. A couple of things I want to mention is that tomorrow we do have another Employer Connect event with Wells Fargo. And then into November, we have some events with Visa and Pfizer. So Kara will drop in all the links into the chat room so that way you can check out all of our upcoming events. Navigating out of the military, whether it's, right away or 4 years post-transition, is difficult, and job seeking is tough, right? So the whole point of these 50 Strong Connects is for you to build genuine relationships with the people that you're connecting to, with the hiring managers, recruiters. Getting that industry exposure, that's key. So whether you find a role today here or not, the point is for you to have this industry exposure. That's what gives you a competitive edge on the job market once you start applying. Do you want to thank our 70+ education partners? If we have any military affiliated students or student veterans, drop it in the chat which school you're affiliated with. We'd love to hear about it because higher ed is so important. All right, 3 tools I want to talk about before we send it over to the Johnson & Johnson team. We have our key employment pathways page, which is on the 50 Strong website. It's a general overview, not a job board, of all the different pathways our employer participants post. So that way you can see, hey, critical roles, where they're hiring, and just get a better understanding of what's available. Secondly, if you're a military affiliated student or a student veteran, or you just recently graduated, we have about 200 roles listed on our military affiliated students listing page, which includes summer internships, full-time new grad roles, some remote, mostly on-site, but it's a great opportunity to check those out, and they get updated frequently. And then lastly, if you're a transitioning service member, you can peruse over 6,000 DoD authorized partners on our SkillBridge listing page. You can see that on our website or on our app. And you can filter by city and state level, which is huge. And these are updated frequently. We've had about 1,500 updated just within the last week. All right, very important for you to navigate into the breakout rooms after Johnson & Johnson is done with their presentations. You need to ensure that you have the most updated version of Zoom, so 5.3.0 or higher. If you have any sort of issues, you can stay in the main room after we open the breakout rooms, then we can manually move you, so don't stress out. All right. Couple things. I'm going to pass it over to the Johnson & Johnson team, but just a quick reminder, we have 5 breakout rooms open. It's going to be the Ethicon MedTech Sales, the Veteran Sales Pathway Program, the Associate Clinical Account Specialist program, the Depuy Synth Sales Representative Program, and then of course SkillBridge and general questions. So feel free to go into those rooms. We're going to send 8-minute reminders to allow you to rotate through whatever breakout room of your choosing. If you really like the one that you're staying in, absolutely fine. You can stay in there the whole time. And then with that, I am going to pass it over to the Johnson & Johnson team so they can get started.
Thank you so much. I think Terry's going to be pulling up our slide, but I will just kick us off by saying I'm Tiffany Daugherty. I'm our head of military talent at Johnson & Johnson, and just thrilled to be here. Excuse me. I'm fine. But I love our partnership with 50 Strong. We have been at least 2 years now, maybe longer, partners with 50 Strong. And I think it has been longer, maybe 3 years. And just love coming to these events, love the nature of this conversation. But as we thought about talking about Johnson & Johnson, we really wanted to share with you more about who we are as a company, and then focusing in on these sales roles, because there are so many meaningful paths and careers you can take in sales. So we're excited to share that with you. Terry, are you ready to launch our slides, or would you prefer I do it? You're on mute, friend.
I'm ready to launch our slide.
Awesome. Always I'm usually the one on mute, so Terry keeps us straight. Great. Wanted to share with you that we have a lot of great folks joining us. And Terry, who's not going to be in one of our breakouts, but she is our lead on our talent acquisition side for everything that we do around military recruiting. Also works in our leads talent acquisition efforts for a lot of our supply chain work in med tech. So don't let her fool you. She's not just here moving slides today. She's really pulled this all together. And then you'll be hearing from leaders from our different sales areas. So we've got Micah and Joe and Jesse and Emily and Ebony here today. I do hope that you spend some time in at least a couple of our breakout rooms. And then I'll be there to just answer some general questions and talk with you about SkillBridge. But before we get into all of that and into the breakout rooms, we just want to level set sharing with you a little bit about our company more broadly. So if we could go to the next slide. The one thing, if I never talk about anything else at Johnson & Johnson, it is that we want you to know about our credo. I literally keep it in front of me at my desk. Our credo is often studied in MBA programs as really defining Johnson & Johnson as one of the first values-based organizations. It was written in 1943, although it's been modified a little bit since then, and it was written by General Robert Wood Johnson, second generation of the Johnson family, after serving in the military. He came back and really established what were the values and priorities of how this company is going to be run. And we use this to really define and guide all of our decisions going forward. So just like I used to wear the Army core values, by the way, I am an Army enlisted veteran and a Navy brat, so it's okay if you're on either side of that. But just like I wore the Army core values around my neck, this is a lot more words, but this is our value statement. And let me simplify it. It is 4 paragraphs that define how we should make all of our decisions by the stakeholder groups and their priorities. So first and foremost, the first paragraph is our patients, their doctors and nurses, their mothers and fathers. That's who we have to consider first in everything that we do. And I'm going to tell you, no one gets this more clearly than our sales folks, who are in many ways the closest to our patients. They are getting those products to our patients, and every decision that they make is first guided by what's best for our patients, their fathers and mothers, their doctors and nurses, their families. Second group of people. And remember, this was written in 1943. Some of the language has changed, but the sentiment of these paragraphs has not. Second most important group of people are our employees. And that really defines our culture. And it's got a lot of must statements. Like one of my favorites is that we must support the health and well-being of our employees and help them to fulfill their family and other personal responsibilities. That's a must for leaders in our organization. The third group are the communities in which we do business, such as the military community, but all of the communities in which we do business. And then fourth, and it is an and proposition, we're talking about sales here, but even a company in general, fourth is that our shareholders deserve a fair return on their investment. So we got to make a profit, but never before those other areas of stakeholders. So this really defines how we approach, each one of us approaches our day-to-day work and what's expected of us as a company. And by the way, if you ever interview with us, this really defines what we're looking for in people who come to us. All right, next. But what do we do? What brings that return to our shareholders? What is our business? First up, we are Fortune 50. We are the world's largest, most broadly based healthcare company. We are a healthcare company. We have over 150,000 employees and 260 operating companies operating around the globe. Next slide. And we are now a 2-sector company. So quick myth busting here. If you thought of us, we're not going to be talking about selling Band-Aids today. We are no longer Band-Aids and Aveeno and all of the consumer products. We have decided to really streamline and focus on the biggest parts of our business, maybe the parts you heard less about if you weren't in the industry, but the biggest parts of our business where we can make the biggest impact. Our pharmaceutical, or actually going forward, our innovative medicines division, where we are treating everything from cancer to skin conditions to really going after, we always say this, the leading causes of death around the world are what we are going after in both of these sectors. Next is our med tech sector. Med tech is everything from your artificial knee replacement to robotic heart surgery equipment to, here in Jacksonville, Florida, we make AccuView contact lenses. Those are a medical device. They are med tech, along with vision surgical equipment that we make here. So lots of different products. Yes, and I know some of you wear AccuView. Great facility here. All right, next slide though. Sorry, Terry, I'm bouncing us around. But yes, we mentioned we have split off that consumer company. If you're looking for jobs with them, it's KENVUE, Kenvue. Great values-based company. But again, we made a really strategic decision to focus in on where we came from. You know, Johnson & Johnson started with sterile surgical equipment, back in the 1800s, when people were not dying from their injury nearly as much as they were dying from the infection of the non-sterile environments, especially out in the battlefield. When we think about that, that's really where Johnson & Johnson got its start, was in sterile equipment. And we are back to that concept of we are here to make, to look at the future and the trajectory of health for humanity. Next slide. All right, what are we looking for? These are the 3 top skills we're looking for. And here's the deal. This slide was not made for a military audience. This was made in general for Johnson & Johnson, but I can't imagine an audience that brings more of this in spades. And this does my job for me of saying, we're not hiring veterans and military spouses because it's charity. We are hiring it because you bring us some amazing leadership and perspective. And here it is: curiosity, emotional intelligence, and resilience. That's what we need to change the future of health for humanity and to solve these leading challenges. And so that's why we're here to talk to you, and this is what we're looking for. Next. All right, I talked about the legacy of our credo. And by the way, like, it's not just the legacy of our credo. I also think to the legacy of what's in the bones of how we operate as a company. I want to talk a little bit about one other thing, is that 8 of our first 14 employees were women. One of our first 3 scientists was a woman. We have been serving women and mothers and diverse audiences since the beginning of our company, and we've been supporting the military community. We have been offering full paid military leave since the Spanish-American War in the 1800s. We have told our employees, if you choose to serve, we've got your back and we'll pay your salary. Since the 1800s. Many of our leaders across the years, including our outgoing CEO who retired last year, Alex Gorski, have been veterans. So a lot of the way in which we lead and drive as a company has been really influenced by the military, and our values have been set apart. And we've run lots of awards. We're in the top 10 best for vets employers as of last year. We have an industry leading veteran ERG group, which also has a military spouse chapter. We meet regularly. We just met today. That group is amazing in supporting each other through all of the challenges of being military spouses. We have a chapter for those who are actively serving. We have benefits in place both for spouses and for our members of the Guard and Reserve that are strategic and special add-on leave benefits for those groups. And we support the nonprofit community through a lot of our partnerships, including the Travis Manion Foundation, Wounded Warrior Project, USO. Next slide. Which, I mean, I can't believe they're getting me to run a 5K in a couple of weeks. That's not my style, but we care. We stay connected. All right. So we are going to tell you a little bit more about hiring, and I promise I'm almost done talking, Terry. I'm mindful of where we are for time. But another thing we wanted to level set on was another reason why people come to work at Johnson & Johnson. And so I joined the team a little over 2 years ago, and I was shocked when I started meeting people and saying, how long have you been at Johnson & Johnson? How long have you been at Johnson & Johnson? How many people I met that said 20 years, 30 years. Terry, I'm sorry to make you come off mute. How many years have you been with the company, Terry?
31.
31 years. And then when I ask people why, right, a couple of things come to mind. One is that I have had the opportunity to really choose my adventure and have multiple careers during my time at Johnson & Johnson. By the way, many of our CEOs have started as field sales representatives, right? And then have moved around in our company. So I've had that opportunity to change careers, to try on new things, to move jobs every couple of years. And that's really encouraged and embraced. That's one reason I'm here. And another reason when you talk to people too, saying, and the benefits are great, I'm treated really well. That credo is true. And then beyond that, I get support for my physical health and well-being. Listen, I get a reimbursement every quarter for my Orange Theory membership or the treadmill that I needed to replace in my house. The company helps support some of those things, along with really an industry-leading employee assistance program, prioritize mental health support, employee resource groups around all of these things. We have groups for folks who are struggling with anxiety, who have kids with different medical challenges, who are a part of different diversity groups. You're getting that internal support and benefits and resources wrapping around you. Really fair compensation that is consistently evaluated and opportunities for growth. We're one of the only companies I know that still have a pension and in addition to a great 401k match. So all of those things, and by the way, sales roles, many of them, a car is part of that opportunity. And so we really treat our people in a way that makes them not want to leave. So we hope that these are all things that make sense, and flexibility and time off and care for your loved ones are all part of that. So you can pull out your phone QR code if you want to learn more about that. We'll give you 1 second to do that. And then we'll move to the next slide, Terry. And actually, we can go 2 slides forward to the military connected opportunities. Yeah, here we go. So we want to talk to you about some specific ways to get hired. So first and foremost, the way that most jobs at Johnson & Johnson get filled is through what we call direct hire, meaning we have some dedicated military hiring programs you can hear about. We have some internship tracks. We have SkillBridge, which I'll talk about in a moment. But most of our jobs, I never want to forget, are we post a job opportunity, you apply to it, you get hired to that job opportunity. And we never want to downplay that. That's never a brush off to go to our career site. It is really, really important that you are going and checking our career site, but we try to make it easy for you. We've got 2 tools that are available to help you to find the right opportunities. One is if you just go to careers.jnj.com, you can sign up for our talent hub. I'm signed up for our talent hub. I hope all of the J&J folks on the line are signed up for our talent hub. It is where you can set up your preferences so that you get an email every time a job opens that matches your preferences. So maybe you're looking for a sales role in Fargo, North Dakota. That might not be open today, but you can set it up where you get notified. And in fact, I usually get the email, I think 2 to 4 hours before the job post. So sometimes I'll click on it and be like, where's the job? It's because you get the email before the job even goes live so that you have time to jump in and apply to it. That's one way. Another way is, and I'll put it in the chat, is careers.jnj.com/military. We now have a tool on the top of that site where you can click that you're a veteran or a spouse or a student veteran, and it will help you to match to jobs that best align to your skills. It's an AI machine learning tool to help you if you're not sure where to even start on searching. That's a tool that we would recommend that you use. But please do start checking out and applying to our roles. And then if you are on this call only, I'm going to put right now an email address in the chat. It's the email address for our SkillBridge team. But a little secret, I'm the one who monitors that inbox. If you apply to a specific role and you were at this 50 Strong event, email me at that inbox, tell me the job ID, send me the resume that you used, make sure that you meet what says required, and we will follow up on that for you. So email me at that inbox if you apply to a specific role. All right, next slide. Last thing I want to tell you is about our SkillBridge program. So if we have any folks who are still on active duty, I just want you to make note, SkillBridge is location specific. We've got 21 sites listed where we do offer SkillBridge. The best way to find out more about SkillBridge is to just send an email to that email address on the screen that I also just put in the chat, and you will get an auto response that tells you all the details about the program, the FAQ, and exactly the 2 steps to apply. So send an email to that email address if you want to learn more. Generally, though, SkillBridge is not usually aligned specifically to sales opportunities. There's a couple of reasons why, because most of our sales roles are at least 6 months of continuous training. The fact that they issue a car, the fact that they're regionally, in different places, usually it's not about a sales role. So I want to throw that out there. But if you are here to learn about SkillBridge, we've had a couple people come through sales. There are exceptions. But it is generally for any full-time job open. Most full-time jobs open at our company could be SkillBridge. We recommend you apply 9 to 12 months prior to separation. So I don't know if that's applicable to anyone on this call, but we did want to throw it out there. And I will be in a breakout room to answer your general questions and to talk about SkillBridge. But all right, that was enough for me. I think we're right on time, hopefully, Terry. And I think that we are handing it next over to, is that you, Joe? You're still on.
That is me. Sorry, I apologize for that. Leaning into our credo, taking care of our doctors and nurses. I'm in my car right now because I just literally came out of a lunch program where I got to talk to one of my doctors. So just a quick intro on me. Joe Frederick. I'm a retired Navy commander. I did 20 years And I was for those of you that are Navy, I was the plank owner of, or a plank owner of the Veteran Sales Associate Pathways program. So we'll be talking about that in my breakout room. Did a bunch of various stuff in the Navy, flew the P3 and a few other things for JSOC throughout my career. Started off in neuroscience, and right now I am in pulmonary hypertension. And when we're talking about ERGs, I am the NA Pharma, so for everyone in pharmaceutical, I am the co-chair for the Veterans Leadership Council. That's our employee research group for Johnson & Johnson. So that's me. If you guys have more questions about sales, please jump into my breakout room and I'll tell you all about it. Thanks.
Joe, you could share a little bit about VSTEP as well.
Yeah, so VSAP, Veteran Sales Associate Pathways Program. It is a program designed to teach someone who's never done sales. It gives you 12, 18, 24 months to get enough runway, if you will, as an aviator, to really kind of learn and hone your skills on the art and the science of being a sales associate in the pharmaceutical industry. What's really great about it is someone who enjoys learning and learning new things. We talked about training earlier. We are constantly training. I've been in the pulmonary hypertension field for about a year now, and I'm actually right now, tomorrow, I'm jumping on a Zoom call to learn about some of our competitor products. So we're always teaching, we're always learning, and how to be a better representative for our products when it comes to pharmaceutical. And, you know, a lot of times people will tell me, hey, my only experience with sales is either the recruiter that lied to me or the guy outside the front gate who's trying to sell me a lemon car. What I really do is I help doctors find solutions for their patients. And our drugs might not always be the right drugs for that patient. And we walk them through and talk about that. And, you know, a lot of times it is, a lot of times it's not. So it's a lot about being honest with your cardiologist, pulmonologist, or whoever you call on. So if you look at that, minimum 2 years bachelor, you have to have a bachelor's degree, 2 years of military experience, successful. And what is really sales all about? It's just being curious. It's about learning. And it's about being resilient. Quick story, on Monday, no one wanted to talk to me, but I'm still dropping off information. And yet here I am. Last night I had a dinner program with one of my doctors, had a lunch program today. And then tomorrow I'm having another program with about 20 doctors. So sales is fun. It's challenging. Can be hard at sometimes and no one wants to talk to you. And that you really got to lean into that resilience factor. But that is kind of the Veteran Sales Pathway Program. We're in all 6 of our therapeutic areas: neuroscience, cardiovascular, pulmonary hypertension, oncology, and I think that's a few other ones. So there's a wide breadth and width in which you can get into those different areas. If you have one that is interest to you, when I actually started out, I started out in neuroscience, which was schizophrenia and treatment-resistant depression, because 22 vets a day commit suicide. So the treatment-resistant depression really resonated with me, and that gave me my second purpose after the military. So I'd love to talk more about it in our breakout room, and I could talk forever, but I think I'm going to pass it on to some of the other folks to talk about the other breakout rooms we have. If there isn't anything else, Terry, did I miss anything?
You did not. Thank you, Joe.
All right, great. So please come into my room. Love to talk to you.
Yes, you can visit Joe in the Veteran Sales Pathway room. I'm going to turn it over to Jesse.
Thank you very much. It is truly a blessing to sit with all of you today. Thank you for your service and taking care of our country. We truly appreciate you. Just a quick intro for myself. My name is Jesse Ware. Just a quick slide on me. I used to be a hospital corpsman. I got out of high school, joined the military, joined the United States Navy as a hospital corpsman in 2011. Trained in San Antonio, Texas as a hospital corpsman. At that point, I was selected to be a cardiovascular technologist, which just means I specialized in cardiovascular science and helping with the diagnostic treatment for those patients and with those officers. I went to San Diego, California, where I finished my clinical rotation and ended up in Portsmouth, Virginia for my permanent duty station. I served there for 3.5 years, at which point I decided to get out. And I took a job with Biosense Webster. It is a heart rhythm specialty business, Biosense Webster under Johnson & Johnson. I went to Iowa as a clinical account specialist. That's the point at which I really got into this world of EP, heart rhythms, and the squiggly lines for anybody who might know a little bit about that. But for anyone who might have a heart rhythm such as atrial fibrillation, or if anyone's heard of things like WPW, maybe you've had a family member, kid, a mother, or father who might have had some sort of heart rhythm abnormality such as that. This is that field which we are participating with the allied health professionals and the doctors and helping them to provide treatment to patients. So I worked with Biosense from 2016 to 2018 in Iowa, moved there out of the military. I had gotten my associate's degree when I was in the military and got my bachelor's when I had gotten out. At that point, I started having kids. I have 3 crazy boys now that keep me on my toes. But at that point, I got my foot in the door in Iowa. We decided to transfer to Pensacola, Florida to be able to have a little bit more of community. So that is where I am now, and I absolutely love Pensacola. At that point, I began to be a little bit more of an experienced member on the team. I served as a clinical field trainer, so I'm training those who are in the ACAS program to be able to do this job and to still them up so that way they can be independent and work with the physicians, nurses, technologists to serve the patients. As well as I've went and actually helped teach some of these courses in California where our headquarters is based. I was promoted to senior clinical account specialist in 2020. And recently, if you know anything about the EP world, IBHRE, International Board of Heart Rhythm Examiners, they're kind of the top tier level of being able to earn a certification from. I've listened to people talk how they've studied really hard and wanted to throw up when they took the test. I discovered they were correct and fortunately passed that and was able to earn that within recent years. Next slide. So the Biosense Webster ACAS program, briefly give a quick statement about what it means to be a CAS. So a clinical account specialist is someone who goes into the procedures and they provide technical service, operating the equipment and providing that technical skill, educating the physician, the staff members, and to help support the patient. So an ACAS is basically learning to do that job. I came from a background out of high school where I learned how to be a corpsman and a cardiovascular technologist in the lab and transitioned to this. We currently have a lot of ACASs who are coming out of engineering programs. So we've had several graduates from Auburn's engineering program or other schools' engineering programs where they've been selected this program as well. So it's not necessarily required that you have that medical background, but if you do, it's obviously can be a field which you know you're going to love and thrive in. So the Associate Clinical Account Specialist is an opportunity to lead, grow, and in this heart rhythm world, it takes about 6 to 9 months of training to be able to be skilled up to operate in an independent manner with our customers. And as it says, advancement is built in. So from the ACAS role, you would finish your training and then become a clinical account specialist, in which there still are opportunities to promote in line, or from there you may just say, I've worked as a clinical supporting the equipment, maybe now I want to go into something else more specific in the company. So these are the career opportunities of an ACAS: training in the field to become a CAS, career path mapping driven by you, and this is a industry-leading professional development opportunity. Biosense Webster in the realm of ablation owns about 60+% of the market share. So you're really jumping in with the big giant in heart rhythm industry. So I believe following me is Micah, so I'd like to turn it over to him.
Thanks, Jesse. So real quick, background on myself, I commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army back in 2006. I was a military intelligence officer, spent 4 years in, and then I got out. I was actually recruited by Ethicon, one of several med tech companies under the J&J MedTech umbrella. I started in a role that's referred to as the associate account executive role. Back then it was the associate sales rep role. It's your introductory associate role, very similar to what Joe had talked about. I didn't have any formal sales experience. I didn't come from a clinical or a technical background. The great news is you don't need any of that. Our training program is literally second to none in the industry. We can take you from 0 to 60 over the course of that training period. And one of the things that I often tell people about that associate role is it's an investment in you. We don't have the expectation of you to deliver return on investment or ROI within the first 30, 60, 90 days. It's all about building your foundation strong and enabling you to successfully transition into this role in the organization and then build your career off of that. So I started in that associate role, moved up into a sales rep role, field sales trainer. Then I became a manager of commercial education where I actually trained new hires. It was my entire job. I did a brief global or worldwide role. Then I took my own sales team. I relocated for it. I became a regional sales manager for the Ethicon business unit. Then I relocated again to become a contract director. So no longer in the operating room standing, I would say shoulder to shoulder with the physicians, but there's a sterile field. Don't ever do that. Don't stand shoulder to shoulder with the physicians. You stand in the back, you advise, you assist, and provide recommendations on the employment of our devices and technologies. But this was the first time that I pivoted from more of a technical clinical role and into more of a business acumen and a negotiating role. As a contract director, I was negotiating contract positions and pricing with supply chain customers at the largest, most strategically significant healthcare systems in my market, and did that role for several years, really enjoyed it. And then I stepped into yet another role. It's the role that I'm in currently. I'm the senior manager of health system customer marketing for Ethicon. And what that means, I just act as a liaison or the subject matter expert between our contracting organization and our marketing and our sales organizations, answering questions and making sure that those teams are working closely with one another. So, and a couple of my predecessors have kind of mentioned this. The beauty about coming to J&J with over 200 different operating companies under the J&J umbrella and so many different departments and functions in each of those operating companies, literally no two J&J careers are going to be the exact same because there's so many different things that you can do. You know, one of the things coming from a military background, you learn something, you become proficient at it, you excel at it, you train your replacement, and you move on to the next challenge, right? And that's something that my career with J&J has definitely afforded me the opportunity to do. Next slide, please. So our Ethicon field sales organization has been doing veteran recruiting for greater than 20 years. I think Terry had mentioned it. Former J&J CEO Alex Gorski was a West Point graduate, former Army officer, started in the sales role before moving off to senior leadership roles and whatnot. Anyways, Ethicon sales organization, we've been recruiting veterans for all of those intangibles that you bring: work ethic, the ability to operate under pressure and in austere environments. All of those things that you bring can make you incredibly successful in a sales role. And somebody had mentioned it in the chat. I think it was Joshua, and I had responded to it. Please, please, please do not misunderstand sales as the used car salesman, because that's not what a professional career in high-end or med tech or pharmaceutical sales is. It's more of a consultative approach. You are providing a solution to a challenge that exists. They need your solution or someone else's solution to that problem. So it's much more consultative in nature. Over the course of my sales career, I never felt like I was forcing something down someone's throat, or if I was trying to hard sell anyone. I was simply saying, hey, what are the problems and challenges that you typically face? What is it that you're currently using? Can I simply have a conversation with you about my solution and why I feel it might provide value to you, and more importantly, to your patients in the form of improved clinical outcomes? That's simple. Couple of things down here at the bottom, and once again, if anybody has any more detailed questions, please jump into my chat room. Not that anybody in here is competitive in any way, shape, or form, because obviously the military is very anti-competition, but hopefully I have the most people in my chat room. I can't believe somebody before me didn't throw down that challenge or throw down that gauntlet. I'm sure everybody after me is now going to chime in. But honestly, if you have more questions, would love to have you in my chat room. I think that you'd be surprised at how challenging a career in medtech sales can be, but really how rewarding it is. One of the things that I often tell candidates when discussing transition from the military into Ethicon or J&J MedTech in general, it's not going to feel as significant of a transition as you might think. You will find a lot of veteran peers to your left and right. You will find a similar value set and mission set to what you experienced in the military. And once again, you're going to be doing something that matters and making a difference and providing value to your customers. So anyways, looking forward to having further conversation in the chat room, and I will go ahead and pass it along to the next person.
So we'll turn it over to Emily.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Emily James. I am a senior commercial education manager for DePuy Synthes, which is the orthopedic company of Johnson & Johnson. I've been with DePuy Synthes for 8 years, most of that time being with our spine marketing organization. Just recently made the jump over to our commercial education business, managing a very cool program called our Sales Training Representative Program. I will focus most of my session today and in the breakout session on this Sales Training Representative Program. However, I'm here as a representative of DePuy Synthes and our orthopedic business, just here to say that I do not come from a background of the military, but in working across cross-functional teams in marketing, sales, commercial operations, research and development, some of the most successful colleagues I've had the opportunity to work with came from the military. And when I started managing this program, which I'll dive into in a little bit here, I said, how can I connect with the military community? Because we need to bring this opportunity to them. So thank you for your service, and it's a privilege to be here today with you all. So DePuy Synthes, Johnson & Johnson Orthopedic Company, our mission statement is to keep people moving. So if you think about orthopedics, our DePuy Synthes has 6 different business units under the DePuy Synthes umbrella. We had trauma, craniofacial, maxillary, CMF, foot and ankle, spine, sports medicine, as well as joint reconstruction. So the Sales Training Representative Program is a unique opportunity. It's a 12-month development experience designed for recent college graduates to provide them with the knowledge, skills, resources, trainings necessary to begin a rewarding career in sales in orthopedic med tech. It's a 12-month learning journey broken into 3 different phases. During that 12 months, you're headquartered at a Johnson & Johnson DePuy Synthes campus, which is in Raynham, Massachusetts, or Westchester, Pennsylvania. And you have the opportunity to become an extension of our commercial education team. And that education team, it's really our sales training team. It's where they are educating every new hire that comes through the door on the clinical anatomy and product of DePuy Synthes, and then also providing advanced trainings for our more tenured sales consultants for their continued education through their career. So during that time, you'd be an extension of the sales training team, as well as getting opportunities to shadow and learn how to support in a sales position, in a sales territory, in the operating room. So throughout this 12 months, we do activities for personal and professional development in these 5 pillars. So clinical excellence, getting you first class knowledge on our product and anatomy of the body, depending on which business unit you'd be assigned to. Selling skills, so how to sell, business acumen, how to measure success in your sales territory and sustain it. Professional development, we dive into things like public speaking, how to network, how to build your brand, as well as culture and service. I will dive into this more in our breakout session. But again, I think, Micah, you hit the nail on the head in terms of this community having everything it takes to become have a successful sales career. And the 3 buckets for me and what I look for is work ethic. To be a successful sales consultant in orthopedics, you have to have an innate intrinsic motivation to work hard and grind it out. You have to be a part of a team. That team aspect has to be there. And I know it was on one of our first slides, that emotional intelligence and having that humble confidence. One of the sales leaders that I work closely with always says your emotions in this job need to be at baseline. You can't let yourself ever get too low, and you can't let yourself ever get too high. Celebrate the wins when you get them, but stay baseline. You're in an OR environment, there's a patient on the table, a high stress environment at times, and I'd be more than willing to share more about this particular program. But outside of that, if you're not a recent college graduate, there's plenty of opportunity within our orthopedic sales force for the military community as well. And with that, I will pass it over to Ebony.
Hi, everyone. I am Ebony Harding. I've been with Johnson & Johnson for a little over 2 years, and I'm super excited for this opportunity to speak with all of you guys for 2 reasons. One, I was a transitioning veteran just like you guys were. Before I joined Johnson & Johnson, I served 23 years in the Air Force, retired in 2020. And although we have all of these wonderful pathways, sometimes as veterans or just the military connected community, we don't really think of corporate America as an opportunity to transition or to go to our next career path. And I'm here to say that it is an opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity, and we have so many different jobs. So the next thing would be, how can I be a part of Johnson & Johnson? Because you've heard all of these wonderful stories from our different representatives. How can you be a part of the J&J family? Well, you have to apply. And on this slide, we have a barcode that you can definitely scan, and it should take you to either our career site or our military connected site that talks about our different pathways. When you go into our career site, you'll have options to search or filter jobs based off of a function, a skill set, or the career of interest. Next slide, please. The next thing that we talked about a lot was joining our global talent hub. This is where you can put your information in, and you can tell us your likes, what you're interested in, all of that good stuff for Johnson & Johnson, and you can receive updates on upcoming jobs or newly posted jobs, or just even news about Johnson & Johnson. With that, if we can bring up the next slide that talks about our breakout rooms, because I know you guys are super excited to get started. And we definitely welcome you guys to join one of our breakout rooms. And if I'm not mistaken, the next slide should talk about or tell who has which breakout room.
Chantel is going to do an overview of the breakout rooms for us.
I'm sorry, Terry.
Chantel is going to do an overview of the breakout rooms for us.
Oh, okay. So yes, Chantel will do an overview of the breakout rooms, and looking forward to connecting. I'm with Micah, who so graciously challenged everyone. So I hope to see you there so that we can connect and talk about sales or anything else that you have questions about regarding Johnson & Johnson.
I'm with, I was going to say, I'm with Emily, so the challenge is on.
That's right, Terry. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and open the breakout rooms. I did put it in the chat as well where you could see the names, but Ethicon MedTech Sales, we have the Veteran Sales Pathway Room, Biosense, the ACAS, Associate Clinical Account Specialist role, the Sales Representative Training Program, and SkillBridge and General Questions. We're gonna go ahead and open them.
Hey, and I'm the challenge, but I want the smallest in the SkillBridge and General Questions room. I mean, come talk to me if you want to, but go learn about sales roles.
Yes. And then we're gonna send 8-minute reminders so that way you can rotate through. So breakout rooms are open. If you have any questions about moving into a room, please just stay in the main session with us. And then for all the representatives, if you could go ahead and join your room and stay in there for the entirety of the session, and we'll send out reminders. But if you're not sure how to move into a breakout room, just stay in the main session with us. But there should be a button that says breakout rooms or under the more option, and you'll be able to select which one you'd like to stay in.